What up, everybody? Good morning and a very happy Thursday to you all. April 17th, DK Show coming to you from the TDS Sports Talk studios this morning. A big thanks for tuning in, however, wherever you're tuning in from. Got those radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. You can stream it up online at sportstalk1051.com. Download the app, take it on the go, your smart devices, smart speakers, and video streams up on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch this morning. But a very, very, very happy Thursday here. 1 week away from the first round of the NFL draft, 1 week away from where right now we will be doing the program in Green Bay, just within feet of where the NFL draft stage will be set up. So 1 week away, we're almost there. What do we got on the good old game plan for us this morning? We're going to talk a little Brewers. Brewers picking up a win yesterday, getting a series win on top of that too, taking 2 out of 3 against the Tigers. There was a 5-1 victory for the Brewers yesterday afternoon. Jose Quintana, after a little bit of a slow start in the first inning, racking up the pitch count there a little bit, he was able to settle down and picked up his second win in 2 starts for the Brewers. It's kind of a little bit of a home run fever there, but with Sal Frelick, Christian Yelich, and Rhys Hoskins all getting home runs. Frelick getting his first one of the season. Good to see Yelly. Maybe that off day helped him out a little bit. Powerful home run there. Rhys maybe hopefully warming up here a skosh. Oliver done with the squeeze bunt on a new torpedo bat to get the scoring rolling yesterday. But solid series for the Brewers after that Tariq Skubal outing in the first one, where Pat Murphy, after the game, saying not impressed and a little concerning that they've been blown up 4 times already. This Brewers team has responded after that and picking up the last 2 wins. Off day today for the Brewers before they begin a weekend home series against the Athletics, and then Brewers are going to be on the road for quite a while here. We got 4 games against San Francisco, going up against former friend Willie Adames. Then 3 games on the road against the Cardinals, then the White Sox, and then they return home that first weekend in May, finally back first weekend in May, where they will take on the Chicago Cubs, a Cubs team that is holding a 1-game lead over the Brewers for first place in the division. Brewers, though, 10-9, back to over 500 on the season. So we'll talk a little Brewers coming up this morning, recapping that victory for the crew yesterday afternoon. With it being just 1 week away from the NFL draft, got a couple things. So yesterday we did the top draft picks, top 10 draft picks in Packers history. Now I want to put, because I mean, you could throw in, Rodgers was the majority pick. You had Bart Starr. I mean, you have all of these Hall of Famers, right? But now I want to make it a little bit more difficult. What in the last, because I mean, we're approaching the 20th, 21st anniversary, somewhere around there. But it was 2005 when Green Bay drafted Aaron Rodgers, and then Nick Collins was third round, somewhere around there. Not bad. First couple picks there, right? How about after that? So who is the best picks, or who are the best picks in Packers history from 2006 to now? So all the way up to last year's draft. So no Aaron Rodgers, no Nick Collins, none of those guys do not qualify. So 2006 to now, just to give you a frame of reference, 2006, the first pick for the Packers that year was A.J. Hawk. So we're talking about the A.J. Hawk draft all the way up to last year, with the first pick being Jordan Morgan. Okay. Now, I don't know if anybody's ready to put Edrin Cooper or Evan Williams in their top 10 or as a top pick already, but hey, this is your opinion. This is your picks. So I've got my top 10. If you don't want to do a top 10, that's fine. If you got a couple guys in there, rank them if you can. If not, no worries. But give me some guys you think since 2006. All right, since 2006, who are the best draft picks for the Packers since 2006. Okay. So you might have to do a little thinking back in your memory banks and such, but you want to feel really old? I mean, 2006. All right, AJ Hawk was drafted. We're in 25. What? Somebody who was born in 6 is going to be 19, like 19 years old right now. Ooh, that just really made me feel old there. But yep, that's where we're at. So think about it for a little bit and send me your picks. I don't want worst ones. That one's a little easier. I mean, I think, it's probably a little bit more difficult if you're trying to rank the best ones from '06 to current. But there's some interesting names, and I'm curious to see where we all kind of if we all kind of thinking of the same players. I'm sure we're going to have some repeats, but if you do rank them, I'm curious to see where those ranking numbers kind of fall and such. So send those to me. You can hit me up with a text 715-830-1912 or on social media at DANKSPER on X, at Sports Talk 1051 on the X, or the Facebook pages Sports Talk 105.1 or Kasper Sports over there, or even comment on the video streams. That works too. So also with that too, since we are 1 week away from the first round of the NFL draft, we're going to play a little fill in the blank. Okay. If Green Bay does this, selects whom, or just whatever, it's kind of open-ended. But if Green Bay does this, you will be very happy. So, for example, if Green Bay drafts a edge rusher in the first round, I will be happy. If Green Bay drafts, I'll just throw out a name, Shamar Stewart in the first round, I'll be happy. And then on the flip side, if Green Bay drafts a running back in the second round, I'll be very upset. If Green Bay drafts so-and-so in the first round or this position in the first round, I'll be very upset. Fill in the blank for me. What would get you happy? You don't have, if you have a specific player in mind, awesome. If you don't, and it's just a position you really want Green Bay to get in first round, or you really want them to avoid this person in the first round, that's what I'm looking for. All right. So fill in a blank. If Green Bay does this, I'll be very happy. If Green Bay does this, well, I may have to bust out the Zima and drink my sorrows away and tears away if you're upset about that first round pick. What is it? Who is it? All right. Again, you can text it, video stream it, social media it, however, whatever works for you. All right. So we're going to hit those up. I'm expecting a lot of participation in this one for this morning for those two specifically. So coming up at about 8:25, we're going to have a little bit of an extended outdoors chat with Jake. Jake's actually going to be in studio. So if you have any questions for Mr. Boakes with anything maybe with the fishing opener coming up in a couple weeks, because we're not going to have Jake on next week because we're going to be in Green Bay for the draft. So if you have any questions for Jake, or maybe with spring turkey hunting going on, period A going on right now, any questions whatsoever, text them to us now at 715-830-1912, and then we'll ask those to Jake when he's popping in here in studio in just a couple of hours from now. So we got that. We'll do a little throwback because it is a little throwback Thursday. Take a look back at this day in history in the sports world and see what kind of stands out and such. We've got the Stanley Cup bracket. Stanley Cup playoffs are set, so we know that, and it's a quick turnaround too. It's a quick turnaround. So Winnipeg Jets taking on the Blues, Stars taking on the Avalanche, Vegas Knights taking on the Wild of Minnesota, Kings taking on the Oilers in the Wayne Gretzky matchup, Toronto taking on Ottawa, Tampa taking on Florida. All right, I like the regional stuff there. Washington taking on Montreal, and Carolina taking on New Jersey. So the bracket is set. If we got any hockey fans out there, some diehard hockey fans out there, who you got going to the Stanley Cup? Who you got winning the Stanley Cup. We're going to make some of those picks coming up a little bit later on, too. The NBA play-in tournaments, whatever we want to call it or such, it's continued to last night. It's trying to spit it out there, Dan. So, but now we're getting closer. I mean, the full. I mean, we're getting closer to having the full on bracket set because we still got two more play-in games coming up here because of these matchups here. So, Miami picked up the win over Chicago. Dallas picking up the win against Sacramento, which means tomorrow Miami takes on Atlanta. That winner will take on Cleveland. Then we got Dallas taking on Memphis. That winner will take on the top-seeded OKC Thunder. So, all right. There's your game plan for us this morning. Let's jump right into it. We'll talk a little Brewers to open it up here this morning. Recapping the W from yesterday afternoon, and then we'll get into some draft talk here as we are getting set for the first round starting a week from today. I'm expecting a lot of participation with these two Packer questions out here. Okay, all right. Now, if you are a Vikings fan or a Detroit fan or a Bears fan and you want to change your team to the fill in the blank one, that is perfectly fine. I want to hear from you too. I know we have Lions fans. I know we have some Vikings fans listening. So I know I said if Green Bay does this, you'll be happy. If Green Bay does this, you'll be mad. Insert your team in there if that makes you feel better. If Detroit does this, that'll make me happy. If Minnesota does this, that'll make me mad. Et cetera, or whoever your favorite team is. If you're a Raiders fan, if you're a Buccaneers fan or whatever, I want to hear from you. I'm curious to get your input on your favorite team. So hit me up. All right. I want to hear from you. Let's get it going. There's your menu. Let's take our first break, and then we'll get into the leadoff. Baseball talk, football talk, little hoops, a little hockey, little outdoors. We're covering it all here this morning. We'll be right back after these quick words. When it comes to one-stop shopping, there is truly only one store in the Chippewa Valley that can carry that title, and that is Hy-Vee in Eau Claire. From grocery shopping and picking up some new team apparel in their sports shop. Hey, if you're going to draft next week, maybe you want to get some swag to represent your team, or maybe picking up some items from their massive wine and spirits department. Hy-Vee has something for everyone. And if you want someone else to cook for the night, we do that quite a bit. They've got you covered with many different options from their food courts. Then when you head out, don't forget to fill up your gas tank with the fuel savers that you've earned from shopping at Hy-Vee, the fuel perks from Hy-Vee. Shop smarts, shop Hy-Vee. All right, we got a couple of texts I want to catch up on. We got Jeremy says, if Green Bay trades back to accumulate more draft picks this year or next year, I would be happy. Green Bay trades Jair for a late-round pick, I would be mad. Steve says, I don't care which position it is, given how our first-round picks have panned out in recent years. If Green Bay drafts someone in the first round who is able to make an impact day one, I'll be happy. Well, may not know that till actually the season starts, so got to look for what would make you happy right away on draft day. What would make you happy right away on after the first round or the first couple days or such? What would make you happy right away? Instant gratification. All right. We'll get to some more picks here. And don't forget to send me your top Packers draft picks from 2006. So no Rodgers. No Aaron Rodgers. 2006 to current. Who do you think is the best pick that Green Bay's made? So that is Ted Thompson and Brian Gutekunst's era. Outside of Rodgers. Who is it? I've got my top 10, and I've ranked them. But we'll see if any of ours match up. You don't have to do 10. You can just maybe send me a couple or such. Before we get to that, let's wrap up this Tiger series with the Brewers. Brewers picking up a 5-1 victory yesterday afternoon. I want to say last night, but yesterday afternoon. Quintana picking up his second win in 2 starts, 2-0 so far on the season for him after a little bit of a slow start in that first inning, racking up some of the pitch counts and issuing some walks. Able to settle down a little bit, went 5 2/3, 4 hits, those 3 walks, gave up a solo shot, home run, but got some offensive support from the Brewers. Home run ball, too. Well, first of all, the first run, you had Oliver Dunn, and he was the first one to get his torpedo bats in there, and that was a big talking point there. And how does he bat? But it was with a squeeze bunt. All right, so not only can they jack you home runs, but they obviously can guarantee you a squeeze bunt. But that's how the scoring started off for the Brew Crew. But then you had home runs from Christian Yelich and Rhys Hoskins. Hoskins, maybe back-to-back, couple days now with multiple hits. Maybe he's starting to feel it here a little bit. We mentioned Yelich. He got a couple hits yesterday, too, including a home run. And then Sal Frelick picking up a couple hits. I mean, Yelich, Frelick, and Hoskins, the 3 guys who all hit dingers, also had multiple hits in the game. But that's what led to the Brewers to get a 5-1 victory. And we talk about Rhys Hoskins. Maybe he's starting to get into a little bit of a groove right now in his last 21 at-bats. Dude has a couple home runs. He's got 5 RBIs, 8 total hits, hitting .381 with a .458 on-base percentage, and he's slugging .714. So starting to feel it for Rhys Hoskins right now. And, I mean, that was, when we go back to spring training before the season started, we were all like, where's the power going to come from? Who's going to provide that power that's left from Willy Adames going to the Giants? Yelly, Hoskins, Mitchell. Well, right now, maybe it's Hoskins in these last couple of games here. Mitchell, by the way, with that triple early on in the game, too. So, but I think, too, I want to throw this out here again. If you didn't listen, if you didn't watch the game, or maybe you haven't seen anything from the social medias, major tip of the cap yesterday, because the Brewers welcomed a Pearl Harbor survivor, service member, 105 years young. 105 years young, Pearl Harbor survivor, threw out the first pitch. Ed Ed McCulvic. I hope I pronounced the last name right. But 105, and he went out there and threw out the first pitch, the second oldest survivor of the Pearl Harbor attack. And just a tip of the cap, first of all, to him, and a tip of the cap to the Brewers for bringing him out and honoring him and such. But Sal Frelick, I want to give another tip of the cap to Sal Frelick. So, in the last few days, I've been talking about, I think Sal Frelick's probably my favorite player to watch right now in Major League Baseball, at least for the for the Brewers right now, just because of how he plays the game. And I mean, the dude is like dirty every game because he's just diving and all that sort of stuff. But I mean, after he hit that home run, and he was talking a little bit with the media and such, and I loved this, what he had to say. There's very few superheroes in the world, and he's one of them, talking about World War II veteran Ed. I credited him with the home run. As soon as I came back to the dugout, I said I shook his hand. He's from the greatest generation ever, and I'm super honored to be in the presence of such a legend. That's a dude who gets it. So, I mean, tip of the cap to Ed, tip of the cap to the Brewers, and then tip of the cap to Sal Frelick. I thought that was just such a cool, amazing, awesome thing that Sal Frelick said after the game about that. So that's pretty darn cool. Kind of gives you goosebumps a little bit there too. But just another reason why I I I love watching Sal Frelick, and I love what Sal Frelick's all about. So, but back to the game, though. Brewers, again, picking up that 5-1 victory. Uribe coming in and getting credited with the hold, with the third of an innings pitched, gave up a hit, struck out. Anderson, though, too. We got to talk about this guy a little bit. He comes in, for, Grant Anderson, and 3 Ks. And you look at what he has done so far this season. He's 1-0 in 6 games appeared, 3.48, 13 strikeouts, though. 13 strikeouts in 6 games that he has appeared in. And you're starting to maybe hear his name chatted a little bit, but I thought that was an impressive performance from him yesterday, too, to come in there. And he this is from Jack Stern, who we had on last Thursday. He has Grant Anderson has a 27.6% strikeout rate through his first 10 and a third innings as a Brewer. And when you look at, I mean, that's a high number, okay? That's a high number. And Pat Murphy had this to say about Grant Anderson yesterday. Helium watch, he's got some helium. Murph credited the Brewers pitching coaches who believed in Anderson when it didn't look so good during spring training, and maybe starting to earn a little bit more trust in some high leverage situations. So maybe pay attention to this Grant Anderson kid. And he left 2 stranded on base too. So he passed that leverage test in the game yesterday. Something to maybe kind of keep an eye on going forward when that name kind of pops up a little bit more coming out of the bullpen and such. But solid outing, solid appearance for him yesterday too. So off day today for the Crew before they welcome the townless, cityless Athletics to town for a 3-game series. Gotta wonder if we're going to be seeing Tobias Myers here pretty darn quick. Maybe even for this series, possibly. We'll kind of see. But yeah, man, I would love to see him if he's going to be coming. He's got to be coming back pretty darn soon, I would imagine, here for the Crew. I have to imagine that. Looking at the schedule for what the Brewers have listed so far for their pitching schedule. On Friday, Freddie is slated to get the start. Saturday, it's Chad Patrick, and then Sunday is a TBD. So maybe, possibly there. We'll see. Or maybe they want to get him slated for a start against the Giants on the road because, I mean, that's shaping up to be, after this home series against at the Athletics, you're looking at these next 7 games. Kind of some big games, and they're all on the road. These 4 against the Giants, who have been off to a really good start. And then you got St. Louis, who are sitting at 500 right now in St. Louis. So you don't want to give them any confidence earlier on in the season. You want to win your division games on top of it. So when you look at the division race so far in the NL Central, you've got the Cubbies at 12-9, Brewers 10-9, and then both the Reds and Cardinals sitting there at 500 at 9 games apiece. But yeah, I mean, not to look too far ahead, but you got the Athletics, got the A's there, you got the Giants, Cardinals, and the White Sox, and you come home and face the Cubs, which will be right now it sure looks like a huge 3-game series. Houston's after that, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Minnesota, Baltimore. So, oof. And you finish off the month of May with Boston and Philadelphia. June's got this is a tough schedule. Well, there's credit to a lot of these teams off to some solid starts to begin the young season. So, all right, let's take a quick break here. Send me your top Packers draft picks since 2006. So Rodgers does not count. Nick Collins does not count. All right. Send me your picks. Hit me up with a text 715-830-1912. Comment on the video streams or hit me up on the socials. All right. Let's see where those are at. Also, fill in the blanks. Okay. Fill in the blanks. If Green Bay does this, or whoever your favorite team is, if they do this, I will be ecstatic. If they do this, I'm not going to be a happy camper Friday morning. It could be a position, it could be a player, or whatever the case may be. All right? Let me know. Okay? I expect lots of participation because we all have an opinion on this. All right. Quick break. We'll be back in just a few minutes. From the moment you visit Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls, you're more than just a customer. You are an honored guest. Purchasing a vehicle can be a nervous undertaking, but with Toyson Ford's pressure-free environment, drivers in the Chippewa Valley can take comfort in knowing they are in the best of hands because the awesome team at Toyson Ford will work with you to help you find that vehicle that fits your needs and your budget. So give them a visit today at 1000 Chippewa Crossing Boulevard in Chippewa Falls, or check them out online at toysonford.net. Toyson Ford, also a partner of ours, the Mobile Man Cave that will be heading to Green Bay next week. Don't forget we only got a couple days left. We're going to probably close it up this weekend, but if you know of anybody, know of a kiddo between the age of 6 to 16, we want to send a kiddo to the Jaden Reed football camp in Chippewa Falls next, in a couple months here in June. And then Aaron Jones is also having a football camp in July. So we want to send a kiddo to the Jones camp and another kiddo to the Jaden Reed camp through our Backyard Dreams program. Go to our website, sportstalk1051.com, and click on the Fan Cave tab. Scroll all the way down to the bottom. You'll see those icons there. That's where you nominate, submit a name and such. So go ahead and do that. And speaking of Backyard Dreams, our biggest fundraiser for Backyard Dreams is our Kasper Classic Golf outing this year, Friday, August 1st at Lake Hallie Golf Course. Signups have been going fantastic. So get your two-person team signed up today before it's too late. We've got 3 tee times open, but that 7:31, the early bird one, we're going to close that around Memorial Day. So if you want to get that one and golf with the defending champs, Surveyor Sam and Nate, you better get in on that one. And a big thanks to all of our partners who have re-upped and signed up to sponsor this event. Again, if you're interested in sponsoring, or we're looking for some raffle prizes too, because that's where we get our funds for Backyard Dreams. If you're willing to donate something, let me know. All right, let me know. Let's try to make the 5th year the biggest and the best year that we've had this outing. So we got a few texts here for the top 10 Packers draft picks of all time post 2006. So 2006 to current. Rodgers doesn't count in this thing. So anybody from 2006 on. Anybody from 2006 on, Dave, can count. So, I mean, anybody drafted from 2006 on can count in this thing. Finding a little bit of a theme between a few of these picks here. So a couple people have picked. So no, I don't think anybody, I'm just going through these lists here really quick. I don't think anybody has picked Jordan Love in their list. However, a theme that I have seen on a couple of them, there are some who have a top 10 with guys who were selected after Jordan Love, a little bit less experienced than Jordan Love. So I don't know. I just found that a little curious. I get the reasoning why, but there's a couple people who have guys drafted after Jordan Love, but they don't have Jordan Love in their top 10. Kyle goes Bakhtiari, Devontae Adams, Aaron Jones, Corey Linsley, Jordy Nelson, Randall Cobb, Zach Tom, Tucker Kraft, Greg Jennings, Mason Crosby. Seabaum has Mason Crosby, Elton Jenkins, Randall Cobb, Mason Crosby 10-1. Kyle's was 1-10. So Seabaum 10-1. Mason Crosby, Elton Jenkins, Randall Cobb, Brian Bulaga, Jair Alexander, David Bakhtiari, Aaron Jones, Jordy Nelson, Clay Matthews, Devontae Adams. Big Worm 10-1. Jaden Reed, Mason Crosby, Eddie Lacy / Aaron Jones, James Jones, Corey Linsley, Jordy Nelson, AJ Hawk, Jair, Clay Matthews, and Devontae Adams. So give me your top 10. Give me your top 10. Send them over. I'm going to save my top 10. I'll say it just past, in the 7 o'clock hour here. First of all, I'm seeing if anybody says a name that maybe I haven't thought of or don't have on my list either. So I'm kind of waiting to see how that one plays out. Just, call it cheating, whatever, but that's where I'm at right now. So, but yeah, no, mine will be coming up here in just a little bit. Also looking for your fill in the blanks. If Green Bay does this, it'll make you happy. If Green Bay does this, it'll make you mad, or whoever your favorite team is. So if you're a Viking fan, Bears fan, Lions fan, Texans fan, Giants fan, I don't care. Whoever your favorite team is, fill in the blanks. Let me know what would make you happy after round one, what would make you upset after round one. A couple more texts with that one. It would make me happy if Green Bay focuses on defense with the first round. It would make me mad if they draft another offensive lineman in the first round. That's from Matthew. Another texter here. We got Mike. Mike chiming in. What would make me happy for the Packers is if they draft an edge rusher. What would make me mad is if they would draft a wide receiver. I feel like they can get one in day 2. All right, so keep those coming. Keep them coming. What would make you mad? What would make you happy? Where you'd be ecstatic. You'd be pumped up. Cheer if you're going to the draft and you're cheering like, yes, we got this guy, or yeah, we got that position. Doesn't have to be a player. If you're not quite familiar with the players and such, that's fine. If there's a certain position that maybe you'd like to see Green Bay address, that works too. That works too. So continue to send those over. We'll get back to some more of those texts and picks coming up probably in the next hour. Also, don't forget to send over any questions you may have for the for Jake Boakes, who will be joining us for a little bit of an extended version of our outdoor chats, just because we won't have Jake on next week, and we've got the opener of fishing season coming up here in just a couple weeks here. So, also turkey season officially underway for Period A. Again, reminder: if you are out there and you're having any luck, maybe you got your gobbler already, send us those photos so we can put them up on our photo gallery on our website, on the outdoors page on our website. If you're going a little bit later on, but you still need to maybe find that new turkey shotgun, make sure you go visit our good friends at Tilden Gun. All right, so if you're looking for that new turkey shotgun, maybe you're looking for some extra shells, it is time to hit up Tilden Gun because, well, locally owned and operated, Tilden Gun has the best selection of firearms in the area and all at the best prices. Their expert staff will help you find the hunting firearm that you want and that fits your price range. And plus, with tax season in the books now, maybe you got your return. Maybe you're still waiting for your return. Maybe you got a little extra money to spend. Purchase something for yourself with that new turkey shotgun from Tilden Gun. So give them a visit either at tildegun.com or check out their shop located at 12427 90th Avenue in Chippewa Falls. Got the Stanley Cup bracket up. Now, I'll admit, and probably not a shock, I'm not the biggest hockey fan in the world. I enjoy it. I'm not the biggest, like, diehard know-it-all, but when it's like Stanley Cup time, it's a little bit different. And I want to know if anybody else is kind of like this too. Like, I feel like the Stanley Cup playoffs, when that thing rolls around, it's just kind of a different animal. I remember in college, I lived with 4 other guys. So we had 5 guys in one house. And whenever it was like the Stanley Cup playoffs, it's just like everything changed. Like there was barely any hockey on to begin with and on the TV in the living room. But like when the Stanley Cup playoffs started, it was appointment viewing. It was like, okay, this is kind of a different season. This is kind of just a different type of thing. And I enjoy watching Stanley Cup playoffs. I really do. May not be the biggest diehard hockey fan out there, but when it comes to the Stanley Cup playoffs, I like it. I enjoy it. It's just a different feel. So we got the bracket out now, and I'm looking for some Stanley Cup picks from you all. Okay? Who you got in this thing? Who do you think is going to be hoisting Lord Stanley's Cup? We got the Winnipeg Jets taking on the St. Louis Blues. The Dallas Stars going to be going up against the Colorado Avalanche. Man, that's kind of a little throwback one there. The Vegas Golden Knights taking on the Minnesota Wild. The Kings taking on the Oilers. Can we call that the Gretzky Bowl? Toronto taking on Ottawa. Maple Leafs taking on the Senators. Tampa Bay taking on the Florida Panthers. Those 2 series, they won't have to travel too far. Washington Capitals taking on the Montreal Canadiens, and then the Carolina Hurricanes are taking on the New Jersey Devils. Those are your matchups, and it's going to be starting up pretty quick. There's a quick turnaround with this thing too. Not like the NBA where you got your play-ins and then the Bucks aren't playing for a week. You still got some games coming up tonight for the NHL to wrap up their regular season, but then it's a quick turnaround. We're talking about Saturday already, playoff games. The Blues taking on Winnipeg, Colorado taking on Dallas. So it starts just like that. I like quick turnarounds. No messing around. No extra break. No extra breather for these guys. Quick turnaround, baby. So, C-Bomb says, what would make me happy is if they made a move to get Trey Hendricks. What would make me mad is if they trade Jair for a 7th. So that's a couple people who have said that they'd be mad if they traded Jair for a late round pick. Honestly, I feel like that's where it's going to trend, though. I think Goody is really, really trying hard to get something better than a 7th. I feel like that's the case right now, and that's why we haven't seen anything. But there's 31 teams. Not saying all of them are interested in Jair Alexander, but they're playing hardball too. And I'm sure there's a lot of teams trying to call a little bluff with Green Bay. And I'm sure there's a lot of teams maybe saying, we'll take our chances when he's a free agent after you cut him. And it's kind of a game of chicken right now, really. Because there's some teams that, according to one report, it was from Tom Silverstein just a couple days ago, that it sounded like the Packers a while ago were close to moving on from Jair and trading him. However, what was the hang-up was Jair's unwillingness to adjust his contract. And I get it why teams would want him to do that. I mean, you got to look at it from the other side of this too. Why? I mean, the big reason for Green Bay moving on from him is, well, injuries, but then you add in the other stuff. I mean, they're probably tired of some of the antics, so they're moving on. You're not going to get a day 2 pick for Jair Alexander. He's got the talent, but, there's a reason why Green Bay's trying to move on from him too. So, I mean, I feel like Goody's really trying hard, and he's playing some hardball and maybe trying to get a very high pick or maybe an early day 3, like a 4th rounder or something like that. But there's other GMs going to play hardball too, saying if Jair's not going to adjust his contract, we're not going to send that pick. Best we'll do is a very late one. We'll see how it all plays out, but I don't know. I feel like it might be trending for that maybe 6th round pick or something like that. Like, I feel like it eventually, this is just a straight up guess. Purely a guess. But I almost feel like it's going to happen in a case where there's going to be some playing time incentives to where it's like, okay, kind of like the Rodgers one when Green Bay shipped Rodgers to the Jets. If Rodgers plays this amount of snaps, we're going to get a 1st round pick, and then lo and behold, he gets hurt in the 4th play of the season. He's done for the season, so we get a 2nd round pick. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's something like, all right, Jai, we're going to send you, I'm just going to throw out a 6th round pick, 6th or 7th round pick. But if he plays 75% of the snaps, 70% of the snaps, whatever that number is, it moves up to like a 5th or a 4th. Favre, when they shipped Favre to the Jets, there was those other incentives in there too, right? If they made the playoffs, I think it jumped up to a 2nd round or something like that. If they went to the Super Bowl, they got like a 1st round. I would imagine it's going to be like that. And I don't think we could be too upset about that if that's the case. I mean, look at Jair hasn't been able to be healthy for the last couple of years for Green Bay. So, I mean, can you fault another team for saying, hey, we'll do this, but we're going to send you this now for this, maybe for next year. It's going to have to be a pick for next year if it's going to be one of those incentives. We'll send you a pick for next year. But if he reaches these different levels, these playing time incentives, then the higher the pick goes. I can't fault the team for if that's what a team wants to do for Green Bay. Might not be a pick for this year the way it's trending. I mean, we're a week away from this thing. It might not be that, and it really can't be that for this year. Maybe it turns into I don't even know how you do that. Do you get a seventh rounder this year, and then if he plays, I don't even know if this is possible. What if he plays 75, 80% of the snaps, then you get the following year's sixth round or something? I don't know. I'm just throwing out stuff and throwing out some possible scenarios, but I feel like right now, and I could be completely off on this thing because it only takes one team to do this, but I feel like whenever Green Bay does trade him, it's going to be for a pick that'll affect next year's draft and not this year's draft because I just feel like there's going to be that incentive in there mixed in somewhere, built in somewhere where it's going to be based off playing time. And if he hits those marks, the higher the pick will be. And honestly, again, I don't fault the team for wanting that from Green Bay, especially if it's going to be, okay, yeah, we'll take on that contract because that's the other part you got to factor in. I mean, if Jair is unwilling to adjust his contract and Green Bay is dead set on trading him instead of releasing him, there's got to be a little give and take because it sure sounds like that if Jair was willing to adjust his contract, he would have been shipped off by now. He would have been with the team by now. There's three parties involved in this thing. It's Green Bay, it's Jair, and it's the other teams. And all three have to essentially be on the same page, it seems like. And right now, they're not. There may be 2 out of 3 on the same page, but one party kind of holding it up. And it could take just one party, too, to make it simpler and say, all right, cut, gone, see ya. And then you don't get anything in return. All right, so shot clock's going to cut off in about an hour. Coming up next hour, I'll give you my top 10. I haven't really changed it. My top 10 Packers draft picks, 2006 to current. So no Rodgers. No Rodgers. Who is the best Packers pick since 2006? I will say, from everybody who sent it in, we're pretty close. A lot of similarities to the top couple, top few. It's the back end that we've seen a little bit of a different thought, which is not surprising. Also, continue to send me your fill in blanks. If my team did this in the draft, I'd be upset. If my team did this in the first round of the draft, I would be ecstatic. Can be a player, can be a position, or whatever, any type of move. As somebody said, if they trade back and accumulate more picks, I'd be happy. All right. Think outside the box a little bit. Okay? Let me know. Curious to get yours. I'm really curious to see the rest of you right now. You don't have to give me a top 10. You can just give me a couple players or a few players too for your top 10 here. All right. Who do you think? Give me a couple players, the best pick since 2006 for Green Bay. And that's all rounds, not just first rounds. That's all rounds. Be interesting if we did say who's been the best first round pick. I might come back to that. All right. 1 hour in. We got a couple more to go. Quick break, and we'll be back after these few words. Second hour kicking off on this Thursday morning. A very happy April 17th to you all. Coming up this hour, the top Packers draft picks from 2006 to current. Who are they? Give me your top 10 list or give me a couple names on there. I'll give you my top 10 coming up in just a few minutes. I was looking at, so if we do 2006 to current, we ask the question, who would be the best first round pick? Because that's kind of, I think, an issue that a lot of Packers fans have been having when we talk about first round picks is how often have they hit on a first round pick? Sure, there's some good ones, day 2, day 3 in that. But what about the first rounders? So here's your list. So if I ask this, Packers fans, I'm going to give you from 2006 to last year's draft, all the guys that were drafted in the first round. So there were some years where they didn't have a first round pick because they traded out. I'm not going to count those. Okay, I'm not going to count them because they weren't first round picks. But of this list, who is the best? So 2006, it was A.J. Hawk. 2007, Justin Harrell. 2008, they had 3 second-round picks, no first-rounder. 2009, you had 2 first-rounders, B.J. Raji and Clay Matthews. 2010, Brian Bulaga. 2011, Derek Sherratt. 2012, Nick Perry. 2013, Dayton Jones. 2014, HaHa Clinton Dix. 2015, Demarius Randall. 2016, Kenny Clark. 2018, Jair Alexander. 2019, Rashawn Gary and Darnell Savage Jr. 2020, Jordan Love. 21, Eric Stokes. 22, Quay Walker. 23, Lucas Van Ness. And 24, Jordan Morgan. So of that group, those are all first-round picks from Green Bay from 2006 to current. Who is the best one of that group, in your opinion? Hit me up. All right. I'm curious to see if we got an overwhelming majority with that. Curious about that. All right. It is Thursday, so let's do a quick little throwback Thursday. Just a couple things on this day in history. It was 1892 at Sportsman's Park in St. Louis. The first National League game to be played on Sunday took place. The Reds beat the Browns 5-1. 1947, it was just Jackie Robinson Day, right? 1947, Jackie Robinson performed a bunt for his first major league hit. So those are just a couple of throwback Thursday moments for you on this April 17th. Playing games for the NBA. We had a couple more last night as we get set to finally finalize that NBA bracket. Miami took down Chicago. Dallas taking down the Kings of Sacramento. So we got playing games tomorrow to wrap it up. Miami will be taking on Atlanta in Atlanta. Dallas will be taking on the Grizzlies in Memphis. The winners of those games will face the 1 seeds in their respective conferences. So the winner of Miami and Atlanta will take on the Cavs, and the winner between Dallas and Memphis will take on the OKC Thunder. Then everything really kind of gets going here Saturday. The first game on the schedule is going to be the Bucks taking on the Pacers. We got a noon tip time for that game on Saturday. So you'll be able to check out that game on the radio dials 105.1 FM and 790 AM because the Brewers game for that day will be night 6:10 first pitch between the Brewers and the Athletics. We talked Brewers in the first hour, picking up their 5-1 victory against the Tigers to secure another series win for the Crew. Jose Quintana picking up his second win in 2 starts for the Brewers so far this season. So after a little bit of a slow starts in the first inning where he issued a few walks and racked up that pitch count, he was able to settle down and ended up going 5 2/3 for the Brewers. So early returns, yeah, definitely I would say positive for the Brewers picking up Jose Quintana. MLB.com had a which of these 5 teams can crack a stacked NL National League postseason picture? Or yeah, which of these 5 teams can crack a stacked National League postseason picture? They got the Brewers at number 3. Postseason odds currently 26.9%. What's gone wrong so far, they say? The Brewers have the Brewers finally run out of pitching? A team that once got by with middling offense and a splendid rotation, especially a bullpen, is tied with Atlanta for the 24th best ERA in the majors, thanks in part to several key arms being on the injury list. The offense is also a little top-heavy. Jackson Churio and Contreras are hitting, but Rhys Hoskins and Christian Yelich very much are not. But Rhys has been the last couple of days. But the biggest problem for Milwaukee and the next 3 teams on that list, the Cubs, look like they might just run away with the division. When they say the next 3 teams on the list, because the Reds are 4 and the Cardinals are at 5. Path to a playoff spot, the Brewers have got to fix that pitching, which they have a history of being able to do, but Jackson Churio needs a couple more running mates. Mostly the Brewers need the Cubs to slow down. Prognosis, Milwaukee has won 2 straight division titles, a third maybe a stretch, but can this club get enough wins to grab a wild card spot? The thing is with the pitching, though, too, like I just think ultimately by default it's going to get better because of just the guys returning. Tobias Myers returning. Brandon Woodruff, I know is still a little bit of an unknown, but him returning. You put those 2 guys in the rotation. We just talked about Jose Quintana. Okay. Guy, a veteran, been there before. He's off to a good start. Heck, Quinn Priester, I know is a little bit of unknown, but the sample size we've been given so far from him with his 2 starts, he has been good. Freddie Peralta's off to a good start. Chad Patrick has been able to give you some valuable innings in this thing too. So I think just by default, Nestor Cortez will be back. Aaron Savali will be back at some point too. Just by default, the pitching I think is going to get better just because they're going to get healthy in that department and they're going to get better. I will say the one thing with Jackson Churio, and I will echo what Pat Murphy kind of said too, Jackson Churio probably needs to walk a little bit more and take some more walks. That's probably the one thing. He's been off to a really good start and has displayed the power and extra base hits. But pitchers are probably going to try to pitch around him a little bit more, and maybe just needs to be a little bit more patient, maybe take a little bit more walks. All right, without further ado, let's take our break, and then we'll jump into my top 10. My top 10 Packers draft picks from 2006 to current. And I will add one more thing to this too, because I just threw it out there. If we focus just on the first round picks from 2006, my top 5, who are the best first round only picks from 2006 to on, since we are 1 week away from the first round of the draft, who has been, and this is the Ted Thompson and Brian Gutekunst era. We're saying 2006 because we're not counting 05 because that's too easy with Rodgers and Nick Collins in there too. But who is the best? We know probably some of the worst. I mean, well, that might be a little bit of a, yeah, Justin Harrell's probably got the, because Kevin King technically was a second round pick. But you got Demarius Randall in there too, so who knows? But who is the best first round pick from 2006 to current? Might be a little bit more difficult. But I've got my top 5. So, all right, we'll take a quick break. And we'll be back after these quick words. Simple math question for you. When you add up spring and baseball together, what do you get? That's brats, baby. Fire up those grills for some tailgate parties or backyard barbecues this spring with some brats from Mike's Star Market. Whether it's the Bloody Mary or the beer brats, Mike's Star Market has so many different options of brats for you to choose from that you will be the talk of your tailgate party or neighborhood cookout. Celebrate the beginning of spring and baseball season by making a stop at Mike's Star Market, located on the west side of Eau Claire. I definitely got to stop there and grab some snack sticks and some of those Bloody Mary beef strips for the road trip for Green Bay next week. Bloomer Tony on the video stream's got his top four for first round picks. He's got Clay Matthews 1, Jair Alexander 2, Kenny Clark 3, Brian Balaga 4. Very, very, very similar to mine. Bloomer Tony, very similar to mine. In fact, it's pretty darn close. Got the same top four, just two guys flip-flopped here a little bit. And I do have one more 5. So let's start off with that. Before I get to my top 10 Packers draft picks from 2006 to current, these are my top 5 first-round picks from the Packers from 2006 until right now. So just straight up first-round picks. I'll go through the first-round pick list again. A.J. Hawk, Justin Harrell, B.J. Raji, Clay Matthews, Brian Balaga, Derek Sherrod, Nick Perry, Dayton Jones, HaHa Clinton-Dix, Demarius Randall, Kenny Clark. Then we've got, moving on up, Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary, Darnell Savage Jr., Jordan Love, Eric Stokes, Quay Walker, Devontae Wyatt, Lucas Van Ness, and Jordan Morgan. Those are all first-round picks from 2006 on. 2008, they did not have one. Traded back. Yes, they had Jordy Nelson as their first pick, but he was a second-round pick. 2017, we know what they did. They traded back, or they traded their first-round pick back into the second round, got Kevin King. We don't need to rehash that. So these are my top 5. Number 5, I'm going to go from 5 to 1. Number 5, given those first-round picks, I am going to put Jordan Love at number 5. I do feel like he can trend, and if we revisit this question maybe in like 5 years, maybe he's at number 1. But I think it's safe to say his arrow's trending up, that he is probably going to move up on this list, or at least we hope. We're really hoping that he will continue to move up on this list. But at number 5 right now, I mean, we only got 2 years into starting of Jordan Love. I've got him at number 5. But I feel like that is, if I was a futures man, if I was betting on futures, I'm going to put Jordan Love as a future bet and him moving up on this list. Number 4, I'm going Brian Balaga, Iowa. Offensive lineman. Originally was a 2010 first-round draft pick, and really wasn't going to be a starter right away until Mark Tauscher got hurt. Then they insert him over to right tackle, and the rest is history. One of the consistent, and this is a guy who went through some injuries with his knee, right? Had a couple injuries, but when he was out there, I mean, the dude was pretty dominant. He was pretty darn solid over there. You didn't really have to worry too much when number 75 was lined up at the right tackle spot. So Brian Balaga, number 4. Number 3, he has been a topic of conversation all offseason, but I am going to go with Jair Alexander. And this was Brian Balaga's first round pick. And I still remember that draft where people were upset when Green Bay traded from their spot with the Saints. The Saints traded up, and the Saints gave them an extra first-round pick to trade up. And then Green Bay moves up just a couple of spots. I believe the trade was with Seattle, and they drafted Jair Alexander. And Jair, his career so far, 2-time second-team All-Pro, a couple times on the Pro Bowl and such. Last couple of years has kind of overshadowed, I think, a lot of good stuff that Jair Alexander has done with his Green Bay tenure. If he was probably still going to be on this team, or probably would still be healthy and such, honestly, his arrow would probably be trending upward, and he would probably be, end up a little bit higher on this list. But assuming he is done with his Green Bay career, I do have him at number 3. Number 2, I'm going to go Kenny Clark. And this is, I know Kenny Clark didn't have a great year last year. Okay. This is a big year for Kenny Clark to kind of rebound. Last year, he got another nice contract, but you look at the longevity from him and kind of the consistency that he has brought to this defensive line. Okay. He's still pretty darn young, too. I mean, he has been in the league. Think about this. He was drafted in 2016. He's still only 29 years old. Still only 29 years old. Okay. I'm a little bit more optimistic for Kenny Clark this year. Okay. But he does have to have a better year this year. There's no question about it. The number one, I did put Clay Matthews. First round pick. Packers trade back into the first round. I remember watching that. That was when the draft was still on Saturday. And Packers were switching over to a 3-4 defense, so they got their nose tackle a little bit earlier. They got B.J. Raji, and then they trade back into the first round. They trade with, I believe it was New England, and get a guy, Clay Matthews. And people, he didn't play a lot at USC. Oh, his dad played in the league and such. And then the next year, his second year, I thought he should have been Defensive Player of the Year. Ended up finishing second to Troy Polamalu. But, I mean, you're talking about two-time All-Pro. 6 times he's went to the Pro Bowl. Finished his full career with 91.5 sacks. Not all with Green Bay because he finished his final year with the Rams. But, when he was at his peak and when he was in his prime, he was one of the best pass rushers in the entire National Football League. So I think the fact, too, that you add in a little bit that Packers decided to trade back into the first round to get him, I think that's why I kind of give him a little bit more of a nod, too, with that number one spot. So without further ado, are any of these guys, though, on my list for top 10? For the top 10 picks from 2006 on. This is rounds 1 through 7. Rounds 1 through 7. Okay. There are a couple. Not every one of these guys that I just mentioned, my top 5, are in my top 10, though. I'm going to start with an honorable mention. I'll say he's an honorable mention right now because, again, he's kind of, I think, trending in that direction. But nobody mentioned this one yet. But I think Zach Tom is going to be in this conversation maybe in the next couple of years. Considering he was, a 5th-round pick, 4th-round pick? And he has played guard incredibly well. There's thoughts that he could even be a better center, but he's at right tackle and he's going to make a lot of moolah. But I think Zach Tom he's going to crack this list. And I'm surprised, there's been some people who've chimed in with their list. They got guys that have been in the league for just a couple of years, and Zach Tom's entering his 4th year. Kind of forget about him. And I think offensive linemen, you kind of forget about a little bit, especially when it's a guard or maybe an interior or a right tackle. But if you don't hear their name more times than not, they're probably doing their job. So I think Zach Tom, we got to throw him on there. And at 10, honestly, if I want to put him in as a part of a 10, because I've got 2 people at 10, I got it tied. I couldn't decide between these 2. Josh Sitton and Elton Jenkins. I've got those 2 guys. You could throw Zach Tom in that equation and just put, make it an offensive lineman thing there. But you look at Josh Sitton in the career that he had. He was drafted. Josh Sitton was drafted. What was it? 2000. Where did it just go here? Well, anyways, Josh Sitton, during his Packers tenure, I mean, you're talking about one of the best guards in football. Yeah, 2008. Drafted in 2008. One of the best guards in football when he was in Green Bay. A 4th-round pick. And he was originally a tackle. And then there was even some games, too, where he had to fill in as an emergency left tackle. I remember going to, I think it was the final game of the regular season, maybe the 2015 season, and they were so banged up at left tackle, Josh Sitton ended up playing that game. And really did a pretty dang good job at it. And just consistent and so good. So good in the interior. And then Elton Jenkins is kind of doing the same thing in that same spot, right? Left guard or, Josh even started off as, what was it, right guard and such, and then TJ Lang came in and that. But I've got it tied with Jenkins and Sitton right now because I think those two are just on similar career paths. And you're talking about, I think Josh Sitton's still kind of underrated during his time. I know he was an All-Pro a couple times in that, but Elton Jenkins kind of the same way. So those guys are at number 10 for me. Number 9, maybe a little controversial for some people, but I am going to put him on here because when he was at his peak, I mean, he was a number 1 wide receiver for a few years in Green Bay. And that's Greg Jennings. And a lot of this, I think you factor this into where they were drafted. And Greg Jennings in 2006, he was drafted by the Packers as a second-round pick out of Western Michigan. Okay. Probably didn't know a whole lot about him. But during his peak, during his prime, you're talking about 3 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and then the season before and the season after, he was in the 900. So his second season, second year in the league, 2007, played 13 games. He had 920 receiving yards. Then he follows it up, 1292, over 1,100, 1265. And then in 2011, 13 games, still 949 receiving yards. Part of a very good group that had some depth at wide receiver, and that was kind of the beginning of Ted Thompson really building up that depth at the wide receiver position. And Jennings, for those times, was the number 1 wide receiver. So I say what you want about his post-career or even after Green Bay and such. Dude produced. He produced on the field for Green Bay. And as a second-round pick, coming into a number 1 wide receiver with a very talented group, I got to put him on this list. I am going to go at number 8. It is Jair Alexander. I wish it was longer. I wish we had a longer tenure with Jair Alexander. I know he's still technically on the team, but he's not going to be coming up this year unless something really changes in a complete 180. But when he was healthy and when he was out there, you're talking about one of the best corners in the game of football. Say what you want about his personality. I know he probably rubbed some people the wrong way and his attitude on the field, his swagger or whatever. Maybe some people didn't like his cockiness and that, but from a straight-up football player, when he was out there and he was a pretty darn good corner. Just wish it was for a longer tenure. But the talent is there. The talent is there. So, yeah, I got Jair at number 8. And then number 7, I'm going Kenny Clark. So kind of following my top 5. Kenny Clark, again, he's been playing since 2016. And he's still only 29 years old. Remember when he got drafted, he was like 20 years old? And he played a couple years at UCLA. So I think he's still got a few more good years potentially left on that body of his. Down year last year, no question about it. You take away last year, maybe he's a little bit higher on my list. But I hope he rebounds this year and just performs remarkably well because he was a big disappointment last year. I, like many people, thought that maybe he would excel more in a 4-3 style defense, and I hope they can figure something out where he goes back to affecting games again. But I do have Kenny Clark on this list coming in at number 7. Number 6, another guy that we just mentioned in my top 5, goes in order. It's Clay. For the same reasons I just mentioned about Clay Matthews a little bit earlier. You look at the production he had at his peak during Green Bay. You're talking about a defensive player of the year candidate. You're talking about one of the better edge rushers when he was in his peak, when he was in his prime for Green Bay. I mean, that 2010 season was spectacular. Had some hamstring issues throughout his career. I mean, you could kind of almost count it. He was going to miss 4 games a season for a big chunk there. But I got to give it to Clay. Remember the year like his thumb broke and they just put some screws in there? And then like a few weeks later, he goes back out there and then he re-broke it again. Like it was just kind of a nasty injury. Boy. But yeah, Clay's at 6. So, which means my top 5 has no first-round picks. No first-round picks in my top 5. Number 5, I'm going Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones obviously still in the league with Minnesota, but you look back at that draft, it was 2016 or 2017. And everybody remembers it was the Kevin King, TJ Watt draft. But that draft also was the Aaron Jones draft. And you had Jamal Williams in there too. Jamal Williams was actually a round 4 pick, and Aaron Jones was a 5th round pick. I don't know what else we could say about maybe some people have both of those guys in their top 10. But, I mean, Aaron Jones, when he left last year, when the Packers released him, honestly, he's probably one of those guys that Packers fans, when you think about heartbreaks of guys leaving, and especially maybe the team that he went to, he's at the top, near the top of just like complete heartbreak for a lot of Packers fans. I don't know of a Packer fan who did not like Aaron Jones. And if you don't, there's something wrong with you. I mean, I've had the opportunity to interview him and talk to him a couple of times, and everything you hear, see, read about him is exactly true. Answers every question. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Or yes, sir. Yes, yes, ma'am. No, sir. No, ma'am. It's a military background. Incredibly kind, incredibly nice, and just a consistent producer on the field. A 5th round pick, running back, supposed to be too small. And it's still probably a gripe for a lot of Packers fans that maybe Mike McCarthy and the Packers offense didn't utilize him as much right away when they should have. But Aaron Jones and the career that he had for Green Bay and saying he's a 5th round pick, if you think he should be higher on this list, I ain't going to argue with you. But I got him at number 5 for me. Number 4, I'm going to go to a guy that was drafted in 2007, and he was a 6th round pick in 2007. But you're talking about a guy who was a rookie in 07, a 6th round pick, and went on to play 16 years in Green Bay. 16 years in Green Bay. 17 overall. That's Mason Crosby. To find that consistency from a kicker, and yes, he had his ups and downs, and a lot of teams probably would have cut him after his down year in, what was it, that 2012, 2013 season, whatever let me see if I can find it here. 2012, where he was like 63% from field goal percentage. A lot of teams would have cut him. A lot of teams would have cut him in that family night. Do you remember? I still remember watching that family night where he couldn't make anything. They would have moved on, and they were patient with him, and he rewarded them. He's made some big-time kicks in his career. But to find that length and that longevity and that consistency for the most part from your kicker, Mason Crosby absolutely was a home run of a pick as a 6th round pick. Absolutely. And played in every single game during his Packers career. Every single game from 2007 to 2022. Kicked in every game. Might not have been kicking a field goal or an extra point or whatever, but he was in there doing some kick. He was involved in every single game. Mason Crosby coming in at number 4 for me. Number 3. I'm going to go to the 2008 draft for this one. And even though Green Bay did not have a 1st round pick, he was their first pick in 2008. And I'm going to go Jordy Nelson. Again, part of that group, that deep wide receiver group, you look at the first couple years and, okay, yeah, production. I mean, he was just kind of waiting his turn, right? Playing every single game, wasn't necessarily a starter, just waiting his turn. 2011 explodes. Over 1,200 receiving yards. And then 2012, he's only able to play in 12 games, 745 yards, but then over 1,300 yards, over 1,500 yards. Tears his ACL in 2015, comes back in 2016, gives you over 1,200 yards. To me, that is such a big what if in 2015. If Jordy Nelson is healthy and plays that season, what do his numbers look like? He's probably, I honestly feel like If Jordy Nelson plays in 2015, and I know the math is like, oh, if you just add 1,000 or does it equal? I really feel like if Jordy Nelson plays 2015, he finishes his career with over 10,000 receiving yards. I honestly feel that way. Him and the connection that Rodgers had was pretty remarkable. Was pretty darn fantastic. And you look at the numbers overall, and you're probably like, okay, well, it's not. You look at the first 3 years, 366 yards, 320, 582. What's so special about that? It's Jordy Nelson. Anybody who's watched Jordy Nelson play knows how special a player he was. And you look at Jordy Nelson, you're like, that's a number one receiver. That was a number one receiver. Probably doesn't look the part. Really, he wasn't the fastest dude. He wasn't the biggest wide receiver, but we don't want to talk about route running and such and the connection he had with a quarterback. And I'll even go back to 2013 too. And this to me is probably one of the more impressive things about him. So 2013, he had the second most receiving yards of his career that year, 1,314. What else happened in 2013, though? Eddie Lacy was a rookie running back and won Offensive Rookie of the Year. But Aaron Rodgers missed a big chunk of that season. So he was still catching balls from Scott Tolzien, Seneca Wallace for a hot minute, and then Flynn it to win it, Matt Flynn. And a lot of times when you see these guys, these backup quarterbacks come in, they may target, one of the other backup receivers that they just spend a lot of time maybe in the practice. And Flynn's a little different because he wasn't with Green Bay right away. So he probably still had that connection with, Jordy from his earlier days. But the fact that he was still putting up those type of numbers with how many different quarterbacks and not his guy Aaron, I think is pretty remarkable too. Number 2 is David Bakhtiari for me. Again, I feel like this is a guy that if he doesn't suffer that knee injury, I feel like Bakhtiari was on a Hall of Fame path. And when you talk about he was a 4th-round pick, in 2013. And when he was drafted, there was some talk, oh, he's a guard. He's not a tackle. And remember in 2013, too, Brian Bulaga was going to start at left tackle. That's when they switched that offensive line. Brian Bulaga was going to go over and play left tackle. And then he tears his ACL at family night. So now Bakhtiari is your new starting left tackle. How many All-Pros later? And when he was in, one of the best, if not the best, left tackles of football. And I really believe he was on a Hall of Fame path. I don't think he gets in now, but he was that good. And you're talking about a 4th-round pick. Number 1 for me is probably the guy of all these, for my top 10 here, that maybe has the best case to potentially make the Hall of Fame. I don't think he will right now. If I were a betting person, I don't think he will, but we'll see how. He's still playing. He can still rack up some numbers, and he's still producing too. He's played 11 years. He's entering his 12th year, and he's still producing. And that's Davante Adams. Davante Adams is my number 1 pick from 2006 to on as the best pick that the Packers have made. And again, you're talking about a guy that kind of waited his turn. 2014, he was a rookie, 2nd-round pick. 2015, everybody wanted him gone. Comes back in 16, 997 yards, then 885. 18, he finally had over 1,300 receiving yards. 19, only played 12 games, 997 receiving yards. But since then, you're talking 2020, 2021, even with his Raider stints and Jets, over 1,000 yards. You can make the case that at certain points when he was with Green Bay, he was the best wide receiver in football, especially in 2020 and 2021. And he's still producing right now. I know this is a Packers thing, but he's still producing right now. And of all these guys, I feel like he's got the best case. I don't think he's going to go there yet, but if he continues to maybe
put up more 1,000-yard seasons. I mean, he's already got over 100-yard or 100 touchdown catches to his name. And he's with the Rams right now, so who knows? But of all these picks from 2006 on, to me, Davante Adams is the best pick because the production, the talent, you can say he was the best at his position for more than just 1 year, maybe even for a couple years there. Dude was amazing. He was so much fun to watch with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, you want to talk about the gold standard of a guy getting out of breaks, route running, hands. I mean, guy had it all during his peak in Green Bay. Easily. And give him credit too, he has played in double-digit games every single season. The fewest amount of games that he played was in 2019 when he played 12. Other than that, you're talking 16, 13, 16, 14, 15, 12, 14, 16, 17, 17, 17. I mean, that's just, to me, it's Davante as the top one. That's my top 10 and my top 5 first-round picks. All right, let's take a quick break and we'll finish up the second hour. Last call for any questions for Jake, too, for our outdoor chat coming up in about 25, 35 minutes or so. Turkey Hunting's going on, fishing opener in a couple weeks. Hit me up with those questions. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. We don't want to get in this situation, but what happens when your car breaks down and you need a tow? Who do you call? You call AJM Automotive. Not only is AJM Automotive your go-to place when it comes to auto repairs, but they also offer towing services as well, and they offer a discounted towing rate for vehicles brought to their location. So if you get into a situation where you need to be towed and you need to have your vehicle fixed right up, AJM Automotive in Eau Claire has got you covered. Just give them a call at 715-835-9523. AJM Automotive, also one of our draft partners for our draft coverage for next week. So a big thank you to our friends at AJM Automotive. Also a big thank you to our friends at Home Oasis. Home Oasis, also a draft partner of ours. Going to be taking that tailgate grill over to the draft, and going to be hopefully firing up some brats from Mike's Star Markets on there too. So can't wait to get that out there. But again, a big thanks for Home Oasis. And if you're in the market for a new pellet grill, go check out the Green Mountain lineup of grills at Home Oasis. So looking forward to it. Yeah, it's the what do we got going on here? Oh, sorry, sidetracked there a little bit. But yeah, big thanks again to Home Oasis for partnering up with us. The Trek Grill we're going to be taking over there from Green Mountain Grills. Also, got to give a shout out to SC Swiderski, another one of our draft partners as well. So a big thank you to SC Swiderski for hopping on and joining us for our draft coverage next week. Surveyor Sam says his top 5 number 1 first round picks. His top 5 first round picks for the Packers since 2006. Number 5, Jordan Love. Number 4, BJ Raji. Number 3, Jair Alexander. Number 2, Clay Matthews. Number 1, Brian Bulaga. Surveyor, what's your top 10 picks overall from 2006 on? All right. Think about that one for a little bit and let me know. So, just a couple minutes to the top here. So, if you missed my top 10 and you just want to listen to it so you can yell at me and tell me how wrong I am, I'll put it up in a podcast in the next hour or so. So it'll be available in a man cave podcast form coming up. Yeah, probably. Well, between now and 9:30, it'll be up there. So coming up in about 25 minutes or so, we'll catch up with Jake Boakes. He's actually going to be in studio with us, a little extended outdoor conversation because we'll be in Green Bay at this time next week. And then we've got opening fishing coming up and turkey season's going on. So busy schedules for everybody. So Jake's going to be in for a little bit of an extended version, answering your questions. Text those on in right now, whether it is for fishing, whether it is for turkey season. We've got period A going on right now, period B starting next week, or anything else that's on your mind that you have a question about. Now is your chance. Now is your opportunity to do that. So if you have a question for a DNR warning, get it on in. Okay. We all have questions. Might be random questions. There is no such thing as a stupid question, even though I feel like I ask stupid questions more times than not. So somebody on our video stream also asked, how many running backs do you believe will be selected in the first round? That's from Adam. I'm going to go 2, Adam. I'm going to go 2. Ashton from Boise State, I think, is a lock. And then I'm going to go Hampton from North Carolina, the running back. I think maybe back in first round, like in the 20s or so. I'll put the line at 2. I'll go with 2. So I know there's a lot of smoke screens. I don't know if that's the right phrase to use that, but there's been a lot of talk. Could there be maybe a couple more, maybe one more sneaking in there? But I think those are probably 2 locks for running backs to get in the first round. I am curious to see if we will see a run on running backs. You know, Henderson's been talked about. Could he get in there from Ohio State? But I'm curious with how, like, and then you got, you know, his partner, Judkins too from Ohio State. But I'd be curious to see how teams view running backs, considering how we saw some of the veterans perform last year. You know, the Saquons, the Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. You know, veterans kind of leading the charge last year. But will that force teams who are looking for a running back saying, hey, That's the cool thing to do now is running the football. We got to have success running the football. We need to run the football. So are they going to make a little bit of a run on some of these running backs? But I'm going to still set the line at 2 in the first round. All right. Shot clock's going to cut me off here in 30 seconds. So coming up next hour, I'll get back to some more of your texts. Send me your top Packer picks from 2006 on. Fill in the blanks, even if you're not a Packer fan, but you're a fan of somebody else. If my team does this in the first round, I will be happy. If my team does this in the first round, I'm going to be very, very upset. It could be something as simple as if they draft this position or this player or do this, if they trade out, trade back, trade whatever. What is it? Let me know. 2 in. We got one more to go. Stick around. We got some news updates, and we'll kick off the final hour in just a couple minutes. Final hour on this Thursday morning. We made it. Almost there. Coming up in about, where are we at? 5, 10, 15, about 20-ish minutes or so. We'll catch up with our good buddy Jake Boakes answering your questions, outdoor-related questions. So if you have any fishing questions with the opener coming up in a couple weeks, turkey season just began this week. If you got any questions related to that or any other hunting, fishing questions, now is the time to text those on over. Final call. Literally, this is the final call now. Text those on over on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912, so we can get those to Jake. Jake's going to be joining me in studio here for a little bit of a longer edition here because, well, next week we'll be in Green Bay. And, following week, schedules and such. So we're going to do that starting today. So get those on over. All right, get those on over. Before that, and also don't forget to text me your fill in the blanks if Green Bay or whoever your favorite team is. My team does this in the first round, I'm going to be what? Or I'm going to be mad. My team does this in the first round, I'm going to be happy. What is it? It could be if you're a Packers fan, Vikings fan, Lions fan, Bears fan, Cowboys fan, whatever. Also, kind of had a little fun last hour, and a big thanks to everybody who's chiming in with their picks. But the top 5, so from 2006 to on, who are the top 5, or who is the best? You don't have to do top 5 if you don't want. If you just want to give me number 1, that's fine. But the best first-round pick that the Packers have had since 2006 is who or whom? And then I went through my top 10 best picks overall from 2006 to current. So every round. All right. If you missed it, it'll be up in podcast form a little bit later on here. Surveyor Sam chiming in with his top 10. He's got, now I got a bone to pick with you here, Surveyor, with somebody who's not on your list, sir. But he's got Zach Tom at going from 10 to 1. Zach Tom, Randall Cobb, James Jones, B.J. Raj, Clay Matthews, Brian Balaga, Aaron Jones, Mason Crosby, Jordy Nelson, David Bakhtiari. Surveyor, if you're listening, where's Devontae on that list? Got to put Devontae on that list, don't you? Tay? Top 2, not 2? We got Mike. I think that my team, the Green Bay Packers, will trade up and take Travis Hunter in the first round. I will be ecstatically happy. You think that's going to happen, or that's what would make you happy? Because if that happens, they're going to have to be giving up a ton. I think a ton to move up. I mean, you're talking about top 2 or top 3 to move up, and you're talking about multiple firsts to go get that guy. So that would be a lot. It would be a lot to move up there and get him. So, all right, I think, Surveyor, you might be redoing your list. It looks like I can't say that word on the air. So, redo it, Surveyor. Keep sending those. All right, keep sending those. What would make you happy if your team did this? What would make you royally upset if they did this? And who is the best first-round pick from the Packers since 2006? We're doing 2006 because 2005 is too easy. It was Aaron Rodgers. But after that, who is the top number 1 or first-round pick and the top overall pick? I'll say my top 5 did not have any first-rounders in it. My top 5 did not have any first-rounders. Okay, Surveyor's coming in. Slide Devontae at 3. Tom is an honorable mention, and also Sean Ryan because of you know. Oh, I know. You rugby boys, you stick together. So, okay. Mike says no. I don't think it'll happen, but I'm thinking big. I hope. Is it supposed to say Goody does something in the draft? Free agency was kind of a lackluster so far, although I do like the guard. Okay, so keep those coming. We'll get back to some more a little bit later on. Brewers yesterday too, picking up a win, series win for the Crew. 5-1 victory. Jose Quintana picking up his second win of his Brewers career in 2 starts. So after a little bit of a slow start in the first inning, issuing some walks and getting that pitch count up there, able to settle down nicely. Went 5 2/3. Home run ball yesterday for the Brewers for 3 people. These 3 also were the only Brewers that had multiple hits. Sal Frelick picked up his first home run of the season yesterday. Rhys Hoskins got another home run. He's looking good in his last 21 at-bats. Playing really well from the plate. And then Christian Yelich getting a home run and picking up a couple hits. So maybe the off day was a little bit helpful for him. Let's just continue to do this, okay? Can we continue to do that? Because that would be fantastic. I'm wondering if we are going to get Tobias Myers this weekend. But right now, it's not going to be Friday or Saturday because the Brewers already list Freddie Peralta as a starter on Friday. Saturday is Chad Patrick. Sunday is a little TBD, or maybe they will elect to have him go on the road when they begin a 4-game series with the Giants starting on Monday. And this is going to be a long road trip for the Brewers because they got 4 games with the Giants. And then after that, it's 3 games against the Cardinals. They get a little bit closer to home, but then it's 3 games against the White Sox. Brewers won't be back home after this weekend, after the 20th, which is Sunday. They won't be back home in Milwaukee until May the 2nd. And I'm sure some of that was probably planned because, well, we know what's going on in Green Bay. So, I mean, the state's going to be a little preoccupied starting the following week there. So, sure, that was taken into consideration. But it's still, nonetheless, a long road trip for the Brewers. And only one off day built in there. And that off day is the 28th. After the Cardinal series, right before they get to the White Sox. So, I mean, they're playing in San Francisco, and then they got to hop a plane that same day and get over to St. Louis to play the next day. But you look at this upcoming, and the way things are shaping up right now in Major League Baseball and just seeing how teams are right now, I mean, it's going to be a tough stretch here for the Crew. And that's why I look at this Athletics series. I'm like, okay, you're better than the A's. You're better than them. Let's come away with 2 out of 3 at least. Bare minimum, let's come away with 2 out of 3. Love a sweep. I want to be a little greedy, and I would love a sweep, but let's at least come away with 2 out of 3 in this thing. Because that Giants series is going to be tough. Giants right now are 13-5. They're off to a fantastic start. Cardinals are always going to give you problems. Division teams are going to always give you problems. You should be able to beat the White Sox. That Cubs series then is going to be, should be a good one. Houston then after that, Tampa Bay, Cleveland, Minnesota, Baltimore. Yeah. So with this schedule coming up here, especially with this long road trip, take advantage of the fact that you're going to be at home. And you got Freddie going on the mound on Friday. Patrick's been pretty solid, pretty good. Take advantage of it. You better come away with at least 2 out of 3 in this series with the A's. That's how I look at it. Get this momentum going after winning your last 2. Try to build something here. So, and then of course, we got the Bucks coming up on Saturday, tip time, noon. Mark, I'll be happy if my Dolphins, Mark's Dolphins fan. Okay, I'll be happy if my Dolphins trade back in round 1 and pick up more picks, or draft an offensive lineman or corner at 13. So Mark would be happy as a Dolphins fan if they moved back a little bit and accumulated some more picks, or getting an offensive lineman or corner at 13. All right, Mark from EC, Dolphins fan. All right, see? If you're Bears, Vikings, Lions, Cowboys, Texans, Bengals, Browns, whatever the case may be, what would you be happy with your draft, with your first round pick? What would make you happy? What would make you happy? Or what would make you mad? A couple more here. We've got David. David saying, what would make me happy is if the Packers drafted a defensive lineman. What would make me mad is if they traded out of the first round, because I am going to the draft. Okay. I don't feel, I feel like you wouldn't be the only one that would feel that way, sir. I feel like if a lot of people just went to day 1, C-bomb, they would be happy, or they would be upset if Green Bay traded out of the first round and would not be able to see Green Bay make a pick if they would go to the draft. So a couple more here. We've got Kevin on our texting line also saying, "What would make me happy is if Green Bay gets a corner in the first round. What would make me mad is if they draft an offensive lineman in the first round." Another texter says, "What would make me happy is if Green Bay trades back out of their spots in the first round, but still keeps a first round pick, but accumulates more picks for this draft." Would really love if they had something similar to when they drafted Jair Alexander, where they traded back with the Saints, got an extra first round pick, and still had enough to move up a little bit in the first round and get Jair. We talked a little bit about that earlier too. Yeah, I mean, I know Packers fans were upset at that time when they moved back because I think Derwin James was the guy that was still on the board, and a lot of Packers fans wanted him. But I mean, you had the Saints giving them an extra first rounder just to move back, and then they were able to move up a couple spots with Seattle and still have a first round pick. So, another texter here, don't have a name, but what would make me happy is if the Packers draft an edge rusher. What would make me upset is if they didn't address wide receiver at all in this draft. And then with that, Greg just came in and said, "What would make me happy is if Green Bay drafts a wide receiver in the first round. What would make me upset is if they don't draft a receiver at all." All right. So kind of couple ones that are they're pretty similar there, but keep those coming. Top first round pick. We got Mike saying top first round pick in Packers history since 2006. In my opinion, is Brian Balaga. We got another pick for Kenny Clark. We got another pick for Clay Matthews, and another one for Clay Matthews, and another one for Clay Matthews, and one for Kenny Clark on there too. So, and then one for Jair. All right, all right. Best pick overall from 2006 on. We've got David saying it's Devontae. We've got Mark going with David Bakhtiari. We've got Greg going with Jordy. Another pick here for Devontae. That's from Chris. And another pick for Bakhtiari. That is from another Mats. So got a few Mats chiming in here this morning. So yeah, keep those coming. All right. Keep those coming. Hit me up with those texts, 715-830-1912. All right. And don't forget, with the Stanley Cup playoff bracket up, send me your picks if you want to. Otherwise, I think we're going to do it tomorrow with Brandon. Brandon and I will make our Stanley Cup picks. But if you want to send in yours, because we got the bracket set up. I mean, it's all set, ready to go for the Stanley Cup playoffs. Again, I'm not the biggest hockey fan in the world, but when it's the Stanley Cup playoff time, it's a different breed. It's a different animal. I enjoy watching playoff hockey. So if you have a pick right now, who you got? The bracket is set. It's the Jets taking on the Blues. It's the Stars taking on the Avalanche. It's the Golden Knights taking on the Wild. It's the Kings in Edmonton. It's the Maple Leafs with the Senators. It's Tampa Bay and Florida. It's the Caps versus Canadians. It's the Hurricanes and the Devils. Those are your first matchups. NBA play-in tournament will continue after yesterday's results. That'll continue tomorrow. Mavericks getting a win over Sacramento. So the Mavericks, they are moving on, and they will face the Grizzlies. The winner of that game will face the top-seeded OKC Thunder. Miami took down Chicago, which means Miami will take on Atlanta, and that winner will take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. And then I call it the normal playoffs begin on Saturday. All right, let's take a quick break here, and then coming up in a few minutes, we'll switch gears. But continue to send me your text with the draft or baseball or basketball or Stanley Cup or whatever the heck else is on your mind. But we're going to switch gears here for a little bit and talk with our good friend Jake. He's going to join us in studio answering your hunting and fishing questions. A lot going on now, busy time of the year with turkey season going on, fishing opener in a couple weeks. So we'll do a quick version of Outdoor Chats coming up. Not only is it a busy time in the sports calendar year with NFL draft next week, we've got the Stanley Cup brackets revealed yesterday. Everything's set there. We got the NBA playoffs going on, baseball's going on too, but it's also kind of a busy time for our outdoors friends, of everybody who partakes in the outdoors, and probably a busy time for our guest too, Mr. Jake Bolks, who's joining me in studio. How you doing, sir? Good to see you.
Doing pretty good.
You still bragging about your brackets a little bit, or?
I haven't been paid yet, so waiting for that. But
come on now.
Yeah, it was a good year.
So I mean, we've got spring turkey that started. I know the kiddos had the first crack at it last weekend, but period A began just yesterday, right? Wednesday.
Yeah, just yesterday.
So, and then everything's kind of kicking off there. We've got opening fishing coming up in a couple weeks. I did see this from the DNR, kind of a new online tool, the Fish Finder tool from the DNR.
Yeah, I actually just noticed that this morning too. I was going to look at it.
Yeah.
We didn't get any heads up on it, so I'm not exactly sure what it is yet, but it looks interesting.
I was reading a little bit about it this morning, and I think it's a cool feature where it tells you kind of where shore fishing locations are at, where some boat ramps are at. And this is probably what you'll really like, the regulations for certain lakes.
Ooh, that would be nice.
You know, for certain, because as you've mentioned a few times too, I mean, there's different lakes or waterways that have different types of regulations involved. So, I mean, that would be, I would imagine, very easy or very beneficial for a fisherman, fisherwoman to go and just easily check that on their phone.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at it here. It does look pretty nice, kind of like a version of the Hunt Wild we had back in the day.
Yep, exactly. So definitely, nice. Put that in the back of your mind if you guys or gals are getting ready to head up
another
to the waterway.
Tool for the toolbox for figuring out what you can do, where you can do it, stuff like that.
How often, and this might be kind of a difficult question, but like with fishing regulations, is there a lot of changes every year because of the different waterways and such, or is it?
I wouldn't say a lot, but there's definitely changes every year. So, depending on, like, the spring hearings was a rule year. So
yeah, our headphones are not great over there. That's why we're moving studios.
No, that's fine. So it was like a rule year this year, so there will be like more changes coming probably next year than we had this year. There's usually a little here or there, but nothing crazy. But to your point, is like you always want to check. I was actually just kind of looking through the rigs, seeing if there's any changes locally, and there's not much this year, but you just never know. So especially if you're going somewhere north or south or on a border water that you don't normally fish every day or every month or whatnot, definitely check it out.
You mentioned the border water. So, you know, with opening weekend coming up in a couple weeks, what's it like for, like, you know, I'm thinking Mississippi or Lake Michigan, or I know that's maybe Lake Michigan's kind of on the other end of our state and such, but I mean, is that one of those fine areas too, where on one side it's Wisconsin and the other for like is Minnesota for the Mississippi?
Yeah. So the border waters generally have like an open season, a year-round season for most species, minus, you know, some specialty game fish like sturgeon or maybe walleye or something like that. But for the most part, it's a year-round season, so you don't get that big rush of sportsmen going out fishing, boom, that first weekend in May. That's generally more your inland lakes.
Okay.
Because those are the waters that you've either been pan fishing or you just haven't been on it yet. So a lot of the more traditional like rush would be that inland water. Otherwise, a lot of people like on Lake Michigan and the tributaries on the Mississippi River, they've already probably hit the high point of like the perch spawn and the walleye run and all that kind of stuff. And the opening weekend is just another weekend for them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Ready for some questions?
Oh, I always love questions.
So we have a texter coming in. If I get a turkey in my first couple weeks of the season and there's still tags available for the back end, am I allowed to buy another tag and go out again?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, great question. So, you know, some species like fish have daily bag limits and possession limits. So if you hit that possession limit, you know, you're done no matter what until you eat those fish or whatnot. Turkeys, deer, I guess not bear because you get one bear tag, but turkeys and deer, as long as there's bonus tags available, you can keep going and filling those tags. The key is you got to follow the rules in the sense of like if you're lucky enough to have already harvested a spring turkey yesterday or this morning, and your next tag isn't until like 4 or 5 weeks from now, you got to wait 4 or 5 weeks. You can't
Right.
just go out next week and dump
Mhm.
another one, you know?
So let's say, like, at the back end of the season, say there's a couple left, and
Yeah.
say that's the tag that you have. Say I go Wednesday, that Memorial Day week or
Yep.
weekend or
Yeah.
whatever. I get one. Could I buy one
Immediately
immediately
after
and go?
yep.
Okay.
As long as you're entitled to buy one a day.
Okay.
So you could start stacking them up now. You know,
Mhm.
you could buy 5 in the next 5 days, and then you have 5 for that week, and then you could go out and shoot 5 in a day if you're lucky enough, you know?
Mhm.
So, as long as you have a tag and it's open season, you can still hunt it until either the season's over or you're out of tags or they're sold out.
Mhm. With turkey season, another question: is there any restrictions on what type of firearms or I guess weapons
Yeah.
to use?
No, that's a great question. So, um, it's always been shotguns and, archery equipment.
Okay.
You've always been able to use shotguns and archery equipment. Um Recently, air guns have become legal,
Mm.
so you can use air guns, but no matter what type of gun you're using, whether it's a traditional shotgun or an air gun, you still have to use ammunition that is more than one projectile. So you can't use like a slug
Okay.
in either of those weapons, which is why you can't use a rifle. You have to use a shotgun. You have to use an air gun that's capable of holding ammo that shoots multiple projectiles, and they make ammo for air guns like that. But you know, your
Interesting.
classic turkey load is
Yeah.
what you have to shoot them with.
Have you heard of anybody having a lot of success using air guns
They're
with
still
turkey hunting?
new. I know
Okay.
people have done it. I think I've seen articles in the outdoor news
Mhm.
describing it and stuff like that. Um, we've run into a few air guns throughout the last year, you know, during the deer season and this and that. I think they're still pretty highly priced, so that
Mhm.
probably keeps some of us out of it, especially when you got I mean, like, I got my classic 870.
Yeah.
It works. It
Yep.
kills a bird every year, and it's like, I don't really know why I need to, you know, change to an air gun, but
Mhm.
if you're getting into it new or you wanna change or you find that interesting, you can definitely go out and get
Mhm.
one.
I'm still thinking of, like, the old pump air guns, like the
Right.
177,
Right.
those type of ones, so,
Yep. Yeah, it's
like
crazy that, technology in everything these days, I mean,
mhm.
it's constantly changing and upgrading, and sometimes the laws allow for it, and sometimes the laws
Mhm.
don't.
Another, question, do you register turkey the same way you would if it's a deer, either online or by phone?
Yep, 100%. Same rules as deer hunting. So you have till 5 p.m. the day after the harvest. By phone, by internet,
Mhm.
would be the only way to do it.
This question is there anything that I should keep as proof that I got a turkey in case somebody questions it? I don't know if they're referring what
Sure. So like when we kind of switched into this process, there was a couple years where you had to keep the confirmation number that came with it. You had to write it
Mhm.
out on the paper tag or be able to present that. Not anymore. The system now and the laws now are just buy a license, kill a bird, register it within by 5 p.m. the day after the harvest, and then you're done. You don't have to write down the confirmation number on the packages or put it on your fridge or anything. Do I encourage it? Yeah, why not?
Mhm.
Because if for whatever reason a warden stops by and it's like, hey, I got this complaint or you know, where you're at the gas station and, you know, you got turkey blood or something leaking out, and
Right.
the game warden says, "Hey, what's that going on?" He'd be like, "Yeah, here it's registered."
Mhm.
We have the ability with our phones and our apps that we can look it up and see, you know, that you got it registered and stuff. So
Mhm.
we have that ability, which is why you don't need to. But just like turkey, deer, fish, if you're fishing, you know, write what kind of fish you have on the packages before you put them in the freezer. Those are all things that just show that you're trying to show, I guess,
Mhm.
that you have legal fish, legal game, legal whatever,
Mhm.
and that it's not taken in violation.
Another texter staying with turkey. Is there any regulations or rules when it comes to decoys for turkey hunting?
You can't use electronic stuff. You
Okay.
can't use live decoys. You can't go
Mhm.
tie a turkey out there. But other than that, you know, if you go and buy, you know, the silly Jake or whatever from Fleet Farm or
Mhm.
whatever you have, it just can't be like you can't use electronic calls. You can't bait them. You can't put anything live out there.
So there's like no max, like you can only have like 4 decoys
Oh,
or anything
sure.
like
No,
that out there.
you could go put a whole flock out there if you wanted.
Okay.
So just litter them up.
Kind of like duck hunting, is just get the bag out and throw them out there.
Yeah, no, I definitely hunted with people where we've joked about, everyone brings 2 or 3 and you're all sitting there, you're like, "What, do we use 1 or should we just put them all out there, Should we just have 10 decoys out?" Yeah, so there's different schools of thought depending on how the birds are acting and the time of the spring and stuff, but yeah, there's no limits on the amount of decoys. That's a good question.
So with that, you mentioned the flocks and that. This is just something I thought of. Because anybody who's gone turkey hunting or maybe watched it, sometimes turkeys can be close together out there, right? Shotgun and that. I think you know where I'm going with this. What does happen if you get 2 of them and you only got the 1 tag?
No, really good question. So, basically, if you end up harvesting more animals, in this case turkeys, more than you have tags for, then the best thing to do is immediately just kind of stop, catch your breath, and then self-report to either our tip line, our customer service line, or if you know the local warden, or Google the local warden's number, give them a call. So the youth turkey season was last weekend, and we've already got, between me and Ryan, the other Eau Claire warden, we've got 5 or 6 calls of parents or youth calling and saying, "Hey, I didn't have the right, I had the wrong tag, or I was in the wrong zone, or I shot 2 birds. I didn't see the one behind it." We teach it in Hunter Ed. I tell people out in public, and obviously we're talking about it right now, is like, if you make a mistake, we're all going to make it. Just give us a call because we can work through it. In all those circumstances, like, I'm not going to say 100% for the rest of my career, every self-report will be a warning, because I don't know what it's going to be until it comes. Right. But I don't think I've ever written a ticket for it, because you're trying to do the right thing. You made a mistake. You're learning from it. And we can work through it. So like in all those circumstances, we were able to work through it. We were able to get the correct tag so they could get registered, or just got them registered late with warnings and stuff like that. So we were able to work through it, especially with the youth. So it's a lot better if we can talk through it when it happens, versus if we have to come knock on your door in 2, 3, 4 months and be like, "Hey, word is."
Right.
And then especially if you then try to deny it, then it's like, well, our hands are kind of tied. So if a mistake happens, it's going to happen. Give us a call. We'll work through it.
It's kind of like when you're a parent and you're telling your kid, if you tell me now,
right,
sort of thing.
Right. And sometimes it's hard to believe that. It's like, you think they're just tricking you into telling you what, in our world, that's not the case. Like, we don't wake up every morning going like, "Oh, whose turkey can we take?" That's not it at all. Yeah. We're just want to make sure everyone's got their licenses, having fun, being safe, and we're, registering the birds legally and stuff like that. So we have those numbers, so wildlife can use it to give out quotas and tags for the following year. We can work through accidents for sure. It's the intent where we figure out how to handle the situation.
And I know I didn't get a chance to ask you this last week, but it's kind of not out in your area, but we did have a couple people, and I think because there was a news article about it in the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel about turkey tags and the quota and that sort of stuff. And like, how come when I put my name in for the drawing, I don't get it, but then they have all these bonus tags? Well, there was a really good article in the Journal Sentinel that kind of explained it, and I know the DNR's kind of looking at it. The rule makers are looking at it, because kind of what they were saying is like, people get drawed, but then they don't buy it. Yes. So, it's kind of it's a process throughout the whole thing.
There's a process. So I have heard conversation about changing up aspects of it, or kind of making it more similar to like bear hunting, so you don't lose you don't lose those tags, basically, for all these people that paid out $3.50 or whatever it is, $4, and then they never draw that awarded tag. Then so I think there's conversation on making it so those don't just get kind of turned into tag soup per se.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So there's a good piece. I know I think we put it up on our Facebook page.
Yeah, no, definitely read through it then. I have heard some other wardens talking about it and stuff, and I get it. So definitely get it.
We got some fishing ones right now. I
was just saying, it definitely is going to feel like that today. 60 degrees before this little storm comes through, but it's going to be a nice day this morning.
I need to find out too if we are going to have a storm. We have baseball practice, so I gotta know if we're gonna have it or not.
Yeah.
I did see. I think somebody posted that Chi High's JV game moved up, so I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at it before. I think we're gonna get some rain tonight.
Yeah, probably need it too with the dry weather.
Yeah, it's been a little dry. There's been a bunch of. I know we're going fishing, but there's been a few wildfires already this year. Nothing that's like ginormous, minus the one on the other side of the state, but the fire staff, the foresters are out and they're working, and they're cutting off a lot of these before they get big enough to make the news. But there's been lots of wildfires every day, so be mindful of that. So we need the rain.
Yeah, we do, definitely. And I just want my yard to look green now.
Yeah.
So
it's spring. Let's get green.
Yep. All right. So Texter asks, is it still a max of 3 poles per fisherman?
Yes. So the statewide rule is 3 lines, lures, or baits.
Okay.
So I think we talked about it before. So if everyone's sitting at, in the truck going, well, we know this, but in case you haven't heard it, so it's not necessarily 3 poles. We generally, I'll discuss it that way because most of us just put 1 hook at the bottom of each pole, each line. But the law is 3 lures, baits, or lines, because you can put multiple hooks on 1 line, and then if you tie 3 hooks 2 feet apart and put a minnow on each one and throw it out, then you hit your 3 hook limit. So and that's only 1 pole. So the short answer is yes, it's 3 per person. And whether it's 3 baits, 3 hooks, or 3 lures, however you define it. And they say baits and lures because like a Rapala will count as 1, even though there's multiple treble hooks on it. As long as it's together, they'll count it as 1 bait or lure.
So like if somebody, I don't know why they would do this, but just tied a treble hook at the end of their line and put a worm on there, would that count as 1 hook?
Yep, that's just 1. The treble's 1. Just like if you grabbed a Rapala and it's got a treble in the front, treble in the middle, treble in the back, that's 1 bait. So you could have 3 lines with that. That's generally how people troll.
Yep.
Again, what we see where people get in trouble, whether it's intentional or unintentional, is they'll take 3 poles and then they'll tie multiple hooks at different depths on it, and then put worms or crawlers on different depths, and now they're at either 6 hooks or 9 hooks depending on how many they tie on each, and that's common on like river fishing and stuff like that. So
gotcha.
But for the most part, the general rule is 3. There's different parts in the state where it might be less on specific lakes if they're trying to manage it for trophy fishing or trout fishing or this or that. So again, just look at the rigs depending on where you're going.
Another question revolving, is muskie fishing open statewide in a couple weeks, or is it just half and half?
Yeah, it's still kind of divided up. So depending on where you're going, you're going to have to just look at the regulations, go to the general inland rules in the back. You could look at some of the border water stuff, but most of the stuff you're going to want to look for is in the back of the book, back of the regulations, because there's different openings depending on if you're in the south or the north. So take a look at that. Kind of like bass, when there's a catch and release season up north, kind of like northern and stuff like that. There's a little difference when it comes to the south versus the north for muskie, bass, and northern. So just look into that.
I remember that always as a kid because I always liked going bass fishing, and I think we were always right at that line. I was like, I don't know if it was Highway 64 or somewhere around there, but
usually Highway 10 is pretty common.
Yeah.
Pretty common.
When does
here.
North start? Maybe that's the answer. Highway 10, if it's the fishing regulations for Wisconsin.
Right.
So
yeah, definitely look at that.
Yeah, because it says here muskie northern zone harvest May 24th, southern is May 3rd.
Yeah. So and just if it's just because it says harvest, you have to look where it says catch and release. If it says catch and release, then you can go out early, before the harvest and catch and release. But if it just says, harvest season starts on this date, that's also the catch and release season. Like it has to specifically say it has its own catch and release, like bass.
Gotcha.
Like bass will say it has its own catch and release season.
It does right there. Yep.
Yep. So you got to be mindful of that. You can't go early for muskie, if it doesn't have a catch and release on that lake or that region.
This might be a stupid question. I don't know.
No stupid questions, Dan.
I've never heard. I'm sure it has. I've never heard. Has anybody like caught muskie just for the fillets? You know what I mean? Like,
like to eat them?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, there's definitely still
because like walleye and panfish, that.
There's
even pickling northern.
Yeah. It's just like how some people they'll go catch a sturgeon because they love smoked sturgeon. There's definitely people. I would say when I generally talk with the people that like keeping them, they're usually more the older individuals, kind of just like a fish is a fish to eat, not so much as a trophy. But
right.
There's people that definitely still go out and catch them and keep them and stuff like that. And I don't think, keeping a muskie here or there. Obviously, it's it's a trophy sport and this and that, and it might be sacrilegious, but it's not going to hurt the population, and it's not gonna damage it. So
Texter asks for the opening of fishing weekend. Is it 12:01 that morning of is it May 3rd? Then would it be?
Whatever that Saturday is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's not unless for some reason there's like a refuge that has a specific start time or something. It's that morning, and there are plenty of people around here that line up at some of the spots.
Really?
And at 12:01, they start casting. So the last few years, I've actually ended up starting my fishing opener at 12 o'clock too, like working it, because there's plenty of people out at that hour.
I know. I would guess I figured a few, but maybe
enough to get us out of bed at middle of the night to go work it. So I was
a lot of shore. Does some people
mostly
go around
shore?
Okay.
It's mostly shore fishing. It's mostly in areas that are like refuges or rivers that have been closed. And, and there's limited access, so they want to be the first ones there that day. So it makes sense.
Another texter asks, is there any regulations or rules when it comes to what kind of bait you can use? For example, if you're catfishing, is there any sort of things that you're not allowed to use for bait to attract a catfish?
Yes, there are some things that are illegal, but it's kind of complicated. The easiest thing is like if you buy stuff from a bait shop, you're going to be able to use anything there, especially any of that prepackaged stuff. You're fine. It's good to go. Some people talk about chumming fish and this and that, and technically, if you put something in the water, like a big bag of something that you want to quote unquote try to chum for it, as long as you pull that bag out and it has most of that ingredient still in there, or the big chunks of it, and if all that oil and scent disperses, that's fine. But you can't just go like grab a bunch of fish and cut them up and throw them in the water, because it'd be considered littering, like if you're just trying to chum the waters. Mostly what we see people doing, especially around catfishing, is like they want to use bluegills.
That's what I was going to follow up and ask.
And so you can use, like, if you catch a bluegill on that water body that day and you cut it up, you can totally use that. It just counts towards your daily bag for bluegill for your panfish. But what you can't do is you can't transport fish away from the water bodies and use them on different water bodies as bait, because that could spread different aquatic invasive diseases or species and diseases. So there is a method on how to like freeze them, and I think you can use like borax and do all this stuff, which and there's literature on our website on how to do that, but to me it seems like way too complicated just to use a bluegill from a different lake. So I always just say get something from the bait store or catch that fish on that water body that day, cut it up, use it as part of your bag limit, and then fish with it. Don't catch a bunch of bluegills on Half Moon Lake and then go up to Lake Wissota the next day with a bunch of dead bluegills, because that would be a violation.
Is there any rules? Because I know we talked about this with ice fishing quite a bit. If they would catch a fish and kind of throw it on the ice and such, and that's a no. Is that the same for like with no ice? If you're on the bank and that
you can't, even though like the fish are part of the environment, you can't just like catch a fish, and if you don't want it or don't like it and it's dead, you can't just throw it back in there.
Or cutting it up for that catfish.
Or like if you're cutting it up, if you use it for bait, that's fine, but the rest of it you need to dispose of properly. The biggest reason for that is just like in the past when that wasn't illegal, there'd be fish parts all over where people are fishing. There's dead fish in the rocks. There's people downstream that have parts floating up to them and stuff like that. And it's like, yes, they'll deteriorate and this and that, but now you got dead stinking fish that are all cut up right around all the other fishermen and stuff like that. So there's like the litter aspect, there's the sportsman's aspect of it. So, and some people, right, wrong, or indifferent how you feel, some people are like, oh, I don't like this type of fish, so they bash it in the head and they throw it in the river. Well, most fish, 99.9% of the fish in our waters around here are supposed to be there, and they serve a role in the ecosystem. Whether you like them or not, whether you think they're native or not, they serve a role. So you can't just kill a fish and throw it back. It's not really fair to the fish.
Yeah, right. Is there any? Because was that last year, a couple years ago in Chippewa River? Was it the invasive carp?
Yeah,
so
that's why I say 99.9.
Yeah.
Just last year, and it's still, I think there was a sensor that went off that showed that they're up in like the Black River now.
Okay.
So basically any tributary, any water that connects to the Mississippi has the potential of having those silver carp, big-headed carp, whatever you want to call them, into their water bodies now. And yeah, they've had a few up here in Eau Claire, and then it seems like they went back down into the river. Luckily for us up here, the Altoona Dam, the Eau Claire Dam are a pretty fortified wall. It's never going to be high enough where fish can go back and forth. So unless someone is kind of evil and hand moves an Asian carp, we shouldn't have them go, up into Altoona, up into the Chippewa any further. So those man-made structures should do a little bit of help with that.
Yeah. So again, don't move one fish to another.
Don't move the fish. There's a lot of invasive species. We've actually found like some rusty crayfish over here that take over the, it's not the most exciting topic, but everything in the ecosystem has a role. And when we're finding all these rusty crayfish and people are ordering crayfish from Louisiana for boils, but they get out and then they get into our water bodies, those fish can really take over, or those crayfish can, and then it eats up the local ones, which then eats up other stuff, and they could go after fish eggs. So it really puts a dent in the population. So it's really important not to move anything alive.
I got just maybe one or two more for you here. But, this one's my own because you're talking about that. I see stories. I remember, I don't know how many years ago, I think it was like a hunter in Minnesota shot a crocodile or like a big, alligator.
Yeah.
Have you ever run into anything like that?
I know the Dunn County warden seized an alligator a few years ago.
Really?
I can't remember exactly how it worked out, but I think the guy brought it back from Florida. And I think we were made aware of it or something like that. But there's definitely been times where we've had alligators and different weird exotic. I've heard like a couple different calls recently of like armadillos on the road.
Really?
And it just makes me think, I feel like people are bringing those back for like a joke and leaving them on the road to be like, oh, there's an armadillo in Prairie du Chien, but you never know, there's an exotic pet trade out there, and some animals are legally like born and bred in captivity, like alligators, like raccoons, like foxes, where people can go out and buy them as pets if they have the right permits and stuff like that.
Well, then I'm thinking of like, this was a long time ago, but 2008, I'm sure you remember this, but Lake Pepin when somebody caught a shark in there. Do you remember?
I was in high school in Minnesota, so no.
Because I got the picture right here. I was like, I had to see
they
that.
Caught a shark?
Yeah, and I think Jake from State Farm, if you're listening, I think you were the one that first told it to me. Yeah, I was in Minnehaha Creek, Minnesota. Yeah, state DNR and park board officials, DNR biologists drive fish downstream to her. Okay. Yeah, there was a shark, like ice fishing. I think they caught it too, or something like that.
Yeah, I see it here. I couldn't
I don't know if so,
that
like,
one.
come up from the Mississippi or something like that. I don't know.
Well, but I mean, unless it's a freshwater shark, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nature is a crazy beast sometimes. So
right?
Or somebody might have had a little help here, because again, those are, I went to someone's residence one time because I had a complaint of that they had a bunch of sturgeon in like basically not their bathtubs, but like swimming pools in the basement. So instantly I'm thinking, they're catching lake sturgeon out of the Chippewa and keeping them in there. And I went in there and I talked with the individual. It was really nice and showed me everything. And they're like, no, I went to this Arizona hydroponics website, and you can just order sturgeon, like these black Russian sturgeon, from the internet, and it's legal because it's part of like the pet trade and it's all captive stuff.
Right.
But it's kind of crazy what you can maybe buy out there.
Yeah. So I don't know if this is okay. This is actually on the Pioneer Press though too. So there's some talk. Is it a joke or not? But I was gonna
say, was it did it come out on April 1st of 2008?
That's what I'm wondering. But then this is from the Pioneer Press. Some kid and his dad, what they first thought was a muskie jaw turned out to be a 10-inch wide jawbone from a sand tiger or a mako shark. This was on the Mississippi River. So maybe that's what I was thinking of more. I think
I don't know. There's a lot of this stuff on here. So I have to go sleuth through the internet later. But I mean, a lot of this stuff, there's definitely things, just like how mule deer can make their way over here, or cougars can go, when wolves are juveniles, I've seen some of the collar, they'll go from in like a month or two. They'll go from here to the UP down through Illinois and back up. Like the animals can move. So what says a fish can't move up the river, up Mississippi? You know, like they can. So
yeah,
anything's possible this day and age, it seems like.
Yeah, no kidding. All right, dude, we're out of time. That went by fast.
Always goes by fast in here.
Well, big thanks for stopping by and answering some questions here. And
no, it's a lot of fun.
I know we won't be able to catch up next week and such. So best luck turkey hunting.
Yeah, no, talk to you guys too. Everyone out there, it's day 2, and I know people. There's a lot of pictures. There's a lot of turkeys. So good luck to everyone out hunting this year. And when that opener comes in a few weeks, good luck there too. It should be a fun spring.
Definitely. All right, dude. Appreciate it. We got to take a really quick break. We might have a minute left when we come back, but that's okay. We gotta take a quick break and we'll be back here in just a couple minutes. Only got about a few seconds. So there you have it. Big thanks again to Jake. If you missed any part of that conversation, we'll put it up in our podcast coming up here in just a little bit, including our Packers top 10 draft picks from 2006 on and the top 5 number 1 picks from 2006 on, first round picks. So there you have it. Big thanks for everybody for chiming in and listening this morning. We'll be back at it again tomorrow morning, same place, same time, 6 a.m. We'll talk to you then.